Hi, I'm Nia Washington, and thank you for joining me for this Afro Surrealist presentation. Now, Afro Surrealism, before I start, I'd like to actually note that I am an artist. So, this was a good topic for me personally. Alright, so before I start now, Afro Surrealism is was from, created in the 1920s after Andre Martin wrote the Surrealist Manifesto. That's mostly what started it, and it incorporates elements from Harlem Renaissance, negritude, and magical realism. Now, in Surrealist Manifesto, Andre wrote logical conclusions, on the other hand, escape us. Needless to say, boundaries have been assigned even to experience. It revolves around a cage from which release becomes increasingly difficult. Depends upon immediate utility and is guarded by common sense. Now, it is art that incorporates the Harlem Renaissance, negritude, and magical realism, and I'm going to get to explaining each one separately as we go along, and I'll have examples for you. Surrealism in itself is a noun, and here's a good thing for the Harlem Renaissance. This was a good picture because the Harlem Renaissance, as you know, was a cultural and social artistic time where it took place in the 1920s in Harlem, New York, and it was generally spanned from 1918 to mid 1930s or so. Many artists, musicians, dancers, and singers made their marks on our culture. And surrealism itself is a pure psychic automatism by which it is intended to express either verbally or in writing the true function of thought. Thought dictated in the absence of all control exerted by reason and outside all aesthetic or moral preoccupations. This here is a good picture for negritude. Now, negritude is a literary and ideological philosophy, phil- philosophy, developed by Francophone Africans who were intellectuals, writers, politicians in France during the 1930s. This is a good example here of negritude almost because it's a little more modern, however. It's surrealist because you don't see in these old political pictures, it's mostly like, George Washington or something, not a brother on top of a white horse looking mystical, magical, and amazing. It's a good depiction of negritude. It could be, it could be Rasta, but the prints, the earrings, the hair, smoke, everything. It's natural. It's what makes uh, African American individual. It incorporates our culture while also showing just a regular African American everyday. This is a good one for negritude as well because it plays on our features. Now we have long, flat most of the time noses, big lips or plush lips. Natural hair. We like to wear, earrings and jewelry that accentuate us. And this is a good one as well, where it's a good picture for Prince, which I think is what it was mostly made for. It also depicts our long, flat noses, wide noses, big lips, natural hair. And it also plays with, the fact that we have masks that look like that. Now, this is a good picture for magical realism. Magical realism is literature, painting, and film that, while incorporating a multitude of different concepts, share in common an acceptance of magical in the rational world, magical aspects in the rational world. And it's very popular for myths, fables, and allegories. Like this picture here reminds you of bringing us back to our when we were looking at Sun Ra and George Clinton. When we had the spaceships. We got the Eyes of the People hand going, and the black faces on there, and then of course the symbol in our spaceship when we were aliens. And now here's also a good one. It's a little more modern. It's got the colorful dreads, the lighter for an earring. Who wears the lighters for earrings? Never know. Could be something that happens. But the magical part of it, the smoke, the colors in the face, as we do have many colors in our faces, in our skin. This is also a magical and it's also a more modern picture because it's shows how black women are shown in the media. We're all breasts and butts, and and that's what they focus on, and that's what they want to focus on. We have natural hair, just like this woman here. And this is a good segue into magical realism meets photography, because in magical realism, it's something that is possible. Now her hair is covered with rocks and moss and dirt, but it looks like it's natural. It looks like it's a part of it, but it's a beautiful way to incorporate the two. And we have seen Afro Surrealism in music. Now, of course, we remember Jesus, which was done by Kanye West's album cover. Now, it's magical, it's mystical, and it's just an example here. We also have like people like Erica Badu, and Erica Badu uses it, and like most recently her mixtape "Can't Use My Phone," but you can't use my phone. And it's a popular song, "Phone Down," and on the cover it shows her body speakers are covering her most intimate parts, for example, and she's always been very different with that. Now Prince is also a good one. Prince was from the 80s. He had this magical realism and this surrealist, Afro-surrealist part of him that he wanted to express through his things. And for example, this picture here with flowers and everything, him resting on a bed of flowers in the nude, just covering in an artistic way. We know Missy Elliott in her early videos in the 90s and everything, when she would be dressed, as Barbies, or as this one, which kind of looks like a trash bag with the sunglasses on, which also brings her back to the old Sun Ra, George Clinton things with the unique fashions. Here are some Afro-Surrealist artists that you can look up and see. There's Bob Kaufman, Krista Franklin, Cool Keith with the fake hair, Samuel R. Delany, the light-skinned fellow with the beard, Romare Beard, and Indiana Lawson. They all have different types of things, and different types of parts of the Afro-Surrealist world. So thank you again for listening. Sorry for stumbling a little, and I appreciate your time. Have a good one.